Alright, so we are going to show you today how to basically do a clone for your hard drive to an SSD. So a lot of older computers, they just get so slow over time. So the best way to make them run a lot better and actually make it useful and not be so slow again is to upgrade that computer to a solid state drive. Now I'm going to start right out of the bat saying, if you got a 10-year-old computer, it's probably best just to replace it. This is basically for people with, I would say, computers that are 3 to 7 years old on average, where they're still usable and still working, but they've gotten significantly slower. So if you're running a traditional hard drive in there, you should upgrade to a solid state drive. SSD drive is what everybody says. It basically stands for solid state drive. So you need two things when you do this. First, you need what's on the screen here with a converter way. So basically what this is a converter to hook up your solid state drive to your current computer. So let's just say you've got a laptop that you want to upgrade. So you want to just buy one of these to make it simple. This has everything you need to power on the SSD so that you can clone it. So you want one of these. There's a bunch on Amazon. Here was basically the first one that popped up. It's like $13.99. I've got like 3 of these things. They're all older at this point, but I paid well over like $25-30 for all of mine. So it's been a while since I've looked at these, so they apparently have gotten cheaper over time. I mean, that one was fairly inexpensive. That's only got a USB 2.0 adapter. Chances are when you buy these, unless you're a computer tech, you're not going to use it a lot anyway, so I don't really see the point of having a 3.0 really, unless you do this all the time. Matter of fact, I do this, I wouldn't say every day or anything, but I mean, I'd say at least, 2 to 4 times a month. And mine is, my old ones was USB 2.0. My latest one that I bought probably like 2 years ago was a 3.0. So it does help. I mean, it makes the transfer a little faster, obviously, if you're cloning something. But like I said, if this is a 1 or 2 time project, I really don't see where it matters. If you want to save yourself $10-12, I would just save the $10-12. So that's the first thing you need. The next thing you need is obviously the solid state drive. So we'll just use Amazon for example, since a lot of people shop there. The Samsung is personally my favorite. So this is what most people are going to need for their 3 to 5 year old machine, 7-year-old. Most of those are using these SATA hard drives now. A lot of these newer ones now, they use different interfaces depending. So obviously you need to check your machine. If anybody has any questions or comments about any of that, or which one they need for their specific computer, if you put that below, I would be glad to try to help with that. But for a lot of these older machines, the SATA interface is what most people are going to need. So as you see here, these are the prices. This is actually a 1 terabyte, which is more than enough space for just about anybody. I mean, that's listed for $129. Quite frankly, a lot of my local customers that I deal with, I'm using this one right here, this 250 gigabyte one. It's $58.99. That price has come down significantly in the last year and a half. I mean, just over a year ago, that was still almost 80 to $100, I think, depending on the month. So yeah, literally this 250 is great. As you see right here, this 500 gig that's really the sweet spot right now. So to be quite frank, my next batch of Samsung hard drives that I buy, I'm just a small-time business. I'm a one-man operation, so when I buy these, I buy 2 to 4 at a time. I mean, that's literally it. I'm not a big shop or anything where I'm buying 50 at a time, but honestly, this is a great price. $69.99 for a 500 gig hard drive. Last one I bought a 500 gig, which is just maybe in the last 2 months for somebody. I literally paid $100 for it. So I mean, it's down to $69.99. You can't beat that. So right now, if I were to tell you to get one, I would buy the Samsung. That's a great price. So So that would be the second thing you buy, and then once you buy those two gadgets, you are basically set to clone your hard drive. And here's the best thing about it: Samsung has software, and they used to include this in a disk. They no longer put it in a disk anymore, usually because they've made their packaging much smaller, so they don't actually give you a disk anymore. They pretty much make the person download it, which, if you're techie, that's fine. If you're not techie much, I'm going to show you how to do it. Just come on to good old Google here, type in Samsung cloning software, and it's probably one of the first links. It would actually be this link right here, this very first, Samsung.com link. It's the consumer SSD products download. If I click on that link, that's going to take me to all these different downloads, and the one you basically want to go to do this cloning thing, this is the data migration. Click on that. You're going to download the data migration software. That's what you're going to download. So you just go over here, click on download. I've already got the software, so me personally, I'm not going to download it at this particular time, but literally all you do, you download it, you run the software, you click next a few times. Once the software is open, it's literally like a one button clone. You literally, before you open the software, you have the SSD hard drive hooked up through the system like I showed you with the converter. You just hook those up. And then obviously with the converter, that plugs into one of your USB ports. You literally one-click this software and wait anywhere, I would say, from 30 minutes to maybe 2 hours, depending, and your hard drive will be cloned over. Most of the time, that's very successful, but I'll give you a few pointers on that. Sometimes it's not successful. If you have a hard drive that's too old and worn out and failing, sometimes you just can't clone. It's unfortunate, but I tell all my clients when we talk about any situations like this on the phone, I just tell them, I say, if the computer's running really horribly slow or anything, I'm going to try to clone it, but I can't promise it'll work. I mean, the only way you really know for sure is once you try to do it. And if that fails, you will not be able to clone, but you could still obviously put in a solid state hard drive into the computer. You just have to run Windows, a fresh copy. But in today's world, that's not too bad, considering Windows 10 does a lot of the work for you now. So it's a lot less of a headache today than it was even 5 years ago before Windows 10 came out. But one other trick too, if you're a tech type person, you already know this, but I've had a few times where if the hard drive clone failed, I was still successfully able to get under the Windows backup and restore program. I was able to get a successful system image and restore to that. If you are doing that, keep in mind your hard drive will have to be the exact same size as what you're replacing. So if you are replacing a 500 gig old spinner drive with a SSD, you cannot use a 250 on that. That will not work. You will have to use a 500 gig solid state drive. So probably sounds like common sense, but something that we all learn, and I learned that quite a long time ago. So sometimes that can cause some issues. But yeah, for the most part, solid state drives, that's what you want to do. There's a great tool out there called Fabs, F-A-B-S, auto backup. Fabs auto backup, great piece of software. If you're a tech person, it's a no-brainer to buy this. If you're not really a tech person, it's just a one-time thing. It may or may not be worth the buy depending on how much stuff you have, but basically this takes a bunch of the pain in the butt work and kind of just auto does a lot of it for you. So it'll back up all your documents, pictures, downloads to the right places. In certain cases, it can help with moving your Outlook profile over, although sometimes that doesn't always work correctly. Learned that a few times. But it does a lot of the work that even text, could take us multiple hours to do. It can take a multiple hour thing and condense it down into like 30 minutes. So I can make another video about that if anybody has any interest in that. That's kind of a different video in itself. But the bottom line is, yeah, Samsung, those are my favorite SSDs by far. If you're more of a bargain shopper or whatever, I was gonna say, if I try to go on the cheap, or if somebody is just kind of really on the fence but they just don't got a lot of money, I'll sometimes say, well, we can roll Kingston. These have been solid, but I definitely don't feel they're as fast. They're certainly not as quick as what the Samsungs are, but it's definitely a big upgrade from a spinner drive. So I mean, these are kind of my go-to El Cheapo brand, if you will. So Kingston is all right, but I mean, when you look at these price differences, though, it's like, $29.99, that's dirt cheap. Or you can get a 500 gigabyte Samsung right now for $69.99. Or to compare it closer, the 250 Samsung was like $58. So I mean, you're literally talking $30 difference here. So I look at it this way: if it's a really dirt cheap computer, it didn't cost much anyway, maybe just go with the cheaper one. But if it's a business computer, you hold a lot of very important information on it, to me that's not worth saving $30. Just bite the bullet, get the better one, and call it a day. So for me, and this is what I tell everybody I work with, I use Samsung for anything that I buy, and especially for any business clients. They don't even have a choice. That's what they get. They got to get the better stuff. For residential folks, like I said, again, you're on a shoestring budget or whatever, I will go Kingston, and I have had decent luck with these. But if I had my choice, of course, I'm going to prefer Samsung every time. So hopefully that helps. I know I didn't go into super duper great detail as far as actually video and hooking things up and all that. I don't know if anybody really needs that kind of help. Maybe if you do, shout it out, let me know. Maybe I can do some more videos. I've got just pretty much a basic video budget set up here, nothing super duper fancy, but people start liking this stuff, I can probably get some better cameras and do some more hands-on stuff like that. So if anybody enjoyed this, give me a holler, give me a thumbs up, let me know if you like it. If what I said made no sense at all, let me know that too, and maybe I can answer some questions in the comments below. And I think that's it. I appreciate it, and we shall see you in the next one.